What is going on, guys? It's Kurt Stevens here with Outlaw Bits Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a brief overview and demonstration of the Super Game Boy Player. Now, I'm super excited to be bringing you guys this demonstration. I picked this up last month for one of my monthly pickups, and just couldn't be happier to show you guys the ins and outs of it. So, if you like what you see here today, be sure to click the links below to like and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to stay up to date with all of Outlaw Bits videos as soon as they're posted. Well, without any further ado, guys, let's get right into it. The year was 1994, and a serious epidemic was sweeping throughout this great nation. 90s kids everywhere were in desperate search of a way to utilize their recently acquired Game Boy games on their home televisions. Luckily for them, Nintendo would answer those cries in June of that year, indefinitely changing the way that we view handheld video game consoles and how we port them over to our home theater systems forever. In June 1994, Nintendo released the Super Game Boy for the Super Famicom system in Japan and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System here in the West. This allowed kids and adults alike to experience playing their favorite Game Boy Color and Game Boy games on the TV screen like never before. Using real Game Boy hardware inside the cartridge, the Super Game Boy was undoubtedly the best way to experience some of the most classic Game Boy games on the Super Nintendo. But alas, a short 2 years after the Super Game Boy hit the store shelves, the next generation of consoles would be ready to hit the homes of consumers. The Nintendo 64 was released to the public. Folks searching for a way to play these treasured Game Boy games on the Nintendo 64 would unfortunately be severely let down until Nintendo introduced the Transfer Pack as an official Nintendo 64 add-on, with the release of Pokemon Stadium in 1999. The main goal of the Transfer Pack was simple. It gave players the opportunity to transfer the Pokemon that they had caught during the adventures in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow onto Pokemon Stadium for use in battle and much, much more. If the player inserts their Pokemon Game Pack into the Transfer Pack while playing Pokemon Stadium, the player may also utilize the Game Boy Tower. The Game Boy Tower is essentially a Game Boy emulator buried within the N64 that allows players to enjoy their handheld Pokemon games on the comforts of a big screen. The Transfer Pack doesn't run off the original Game Boy hardware like the Super Game Boy, so you can only play Pokemon titles while using the Transfer Pack with Pokemon Stadium. Though there are a handful of other games that utilize the Transfer Pack's capabilities, you can't physically play the other titles through the console, leaving the Game Boy Transfer Pack laying flat on its face when compared to the Super Game Boy, and leaving customers no way to play the vast majority of their favorite Game Boy titles on the Nintendo 64. Players would have to retreat back to the closet and pull out their old SNES if they wanted to relive some nostalgia from their childhoods and play some of those old Game Boy games. That is, until Nintendo decided to release a remarkable and sensible add-on for their up-and-coming console, the Nintendo Gamecube. And in 2003, we were graciously introduced to one of the best peripherals for the GameCube system, the Game Boy Player, which is going to be our main focus on today's video. The Game Boy Player was a truly remarkable addition to the GameCube's arsenal and allowed gamers to play all of their original Game Boy and Game Boy Color as well as their Game Boy Advance games in one convenient piece of hardware. The Game Boy Player utilized all of the inner workings of a Game Boy Advance, making this peripheral super reliable and ensuring that a majority of the titles would work flawlessly on the system. The Game Boy Player worked by connecting an add-on to the bottom of the GameCube using the high-speed parallel port located on the far left corner of the system. The Game Boy Player also has two flathead screws that help securely hold the Game Boy Player to the bottom of the GameCube. Aside from that, there's a game slot, obviously for inserting your favorite Game Boy games of choice. It comes fitted with an external extension out connection for Game Boy link cables, wireless adapters, and the like, and it comes equipped with this intriguing eject button, and like the name suggests, it literally ejects your game from the Game Boy Player. With great force, I might add. It was quite impressive, to be honest. The Game Boy Player comes with a startup disc. You'll need the startup disc to play any Game Boy games on the console. And while the console add-on is a region-free, meaning that you can play any Game Boy game using a Game Boy Player from Japan or any other region, the startup disc is a region-specific, meaning that you'll have to have an American startup disc to play your favorite Game Boy titles on your US Gamecube system. And while finding the Game Boy Player itself is not so difficult out there in the wild, tracking down the startup disc can prove to be a challenging feat and can cost you the upwards of $75 US. Moving on to the software capabilities of the Game Boy Player, the system came equipped with a few standalone features that worked hand in hand with the games being played on screen. The first feature is the frame selection. This allows players to choose one of 20 frames to surround their game of choice. The second selection in the Game Boy Player's menu is screen size, allowing you to choose between normal or full size display when playing your favorite Game Boy titles, which is a bit larger than the normal setting. The next feature of the Game Boy Player is a controller setting which allows you to change the functions of the button layout of the GameCube's controller. Not completely necessary, but interesting nonetheless and kinda useful. The fourth feature down the line is the screen filter selection, which allows you to choose between 3 different screen filters. The first filter is soften, which makes the pixels a bit less intense. Then there's a normal filter, which keeps the picture the same quality. And finally, the sharpen filter that makes those pixels slightly more crisp for a better viewing experience, though it doesn't make that much of a difference and it's hard to tell. The fifth selection in the Game Boy Player's interface is a timer function. The user can set a timer between 1 and 60 minutes for any reason that they see fit, from limiting play times to keeping track of those savory batch of chicken nuggets you have in the oven for a truly optimal gaming experience. The final selection on the Game Boy Player is the Change Game Packs function, which allows users to safely change out their Nintendo Game Boy games of choice while the system is still up and running without damaging the hardware. Getting tired of a game you're playing? Shoot over to the Change Game Packs function and pop that sucker out using the state-of-the-art ejector button that we discussed earlier. Then, put the new game you wish to play inside the cartridge slot, and you are ready to go. Now with all that out of the way, I'm ready to get playing, guys. Well, there you have it, guys. This has been my brief demo and overview of the Nintendo Game Boy Player for the GameCube. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was super informative for you. Now, if you like what you saw here today, guys, don't be afraid to smash that like button at the bottom of the page, and be sure to click subscribe and ring that notification bell to stay up to date with all of Outlaw Bits videos as soon as they're posted. I can't thank you guys enough for watching, and this has been Kurt Stevens with Outlaw Bits Gaming, signing off.